welcome to Cathal from OB Sports to This is the Business, our weekly interview series where we interview people either in the business or that own or have started a business. Cathal, tell us a little bit about yourself and OB Sports.
Dan, thanks for having me on. OB Sports started when I was 14 in the end of second year, starting third year. It started because I was a swimmer. I used to swim 18 hours a week. I used to play hurling, all on the Kenny hurling teams, and I had no real time for a job. So I said, I need to make money. I'm spending time driving 40 minutes up and down to training. So how can I make money on my phone? So I started selling replica jerseys for about a week and a half. Take about five sales, and then people started asking me to do club jerseys with all the local clubs. Then started moving to that, and yeah, ever since that we've done a collab with. Well, I always say I done a collab with Drogheda United. Currently doing one with Jamie McIntyre, and just before Christmas we did Garn Noon. So yeah.
Deadly, deadly. And not the usual interview you do with someone that's in a business, but I know this will air next week, but you're in the middle of doing your mocks then as well at the minute.
Yeah. So I'm in the middle of doing. I had French this morning. I have math paper two now in the morning.
Good man.
Um, yeah. So
And
that's my
what
week
was
so far.
Yeah, I think I'm stressed, and you're trying to run a
Mm,
business and do school and do mocks. But
mm,
I was never good at really any of it. But
no.
what was the crack? What kind of got you into? What was like? Obviously, you wanted to make a few pound or whatever else. But did you have a
Mm.
little bit of a spark about business, or was it just solely about just trying to do something to make a few pound?
Yes. So it was. I'd say it's more so just that's my personality. So then when I was. So I have two national gold medals in swimming. I was on all the Kenny teams the whole way up, and then I have a heart block. So when I
Right.
was ooh when I was 16, so no 15 and a bit, or whatever age I was anyway. Summer 2024, I unfortunately had to get two heart surgeries, which kind of stopped my sporting goals. So I said,
Right.
right, I have this little business that to this day, I say I'm not taking seriously, but I suppose I am kind of taking it seriously now. And I said, right, at least I have this to fall on. So I always knew I was a driven person.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then I brought the sport drive into the business world ever since that. So now I still play sport casually, but yeah.
Not to the level you would have. Yeah, and it's mad because you like I know you from working with you now over the last few
Mm,
months, and you're a damn good man to come up with an idea.
mm.
So I can only imagine how many other ideas you had at the time, and was it just that the Jersey one was just something you're interested in, and it kind of clicked and you stuck with it, or was it something that you seen a gap in the market, and was there a reason you went with it? I suppose.
Yeah, so um since I was only a young lad, so and I still am only a young lad, but I could they're
All those
easy to
years
sell.
ago, what, a year and a half ago when you were 15, like.
They're easy to sell. Like every young lad in the country wanted a jersey. Every young lad at my school wanted a jersey. So I said, right, I'll have no problem selling them. And I still have no problem selling them. But now when I'm looking at it now, I'm trying to put a spin on it, trying to make it more natural, building kind of a personal brand around it. Um, like my social media, you gave out to me one of the times. It was all just me doing packing videos, no kind of information. Um, yeah, so I think having the balance between showing what you're doing and then kind of social media, having the social media twist to it of showing the behind the scenes, showing the packing the orders is a big part of the way I'm advertising myself. Like I've never paid for an ad, never paid for anything like that.
Mad, isn't it? And like, I suppose the question I always ask, and anytime I meet anyone or when we're doing these interview series, like, it's how you ask a business owner because that's what they do for a living. They're a business owner. They're
Mm,
they're in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever else they are, and they're starting
mm.
up a business. But for you, what's the one thing you've learned coming into the business world as a 16, 17-year old that if you were to turn back and go, right, I'm going to do this again, I'm not going to do that again, or I learned from that. What are the things that maybe stood out to you now sitting here looking back?
Um, 1 second now. I just need to see. No, sorry. Um, Probably to ask for advice. So I'd say up to last year, I used to take on the burden of absolutely everything. And up
Mm.
to I had a meeting with you and Tomas in October, November, and that was
Would have
probably
been, yeah,
and that was probably the first time I've ever asked, how do I actually do this, and what are we putting in plan to get it done? And probably ever since then, like when we ever have a meeting, or if I've ever have a meeting with someone, I'd always say, right, what's the next step? What have we actually got out of this meeting? Because normally I would have like done a meeting, had the meeting, had a right chat, had a plan, but done nothing about it then. An hour
yeah,
later, I was sitting at home watching TikTok saying, "Oh, that was a class meeting," but
yeah,
nothing would
yeah.
actually come out of it. So, kind of yeah, putting a plan to your actions.
Yeah, and I actually would have said that's probably one of your strongest suits as a
Mm.
young man, is that like you do like we met, was it last Saturday? I think you were very excited
Mm.
about driving on the M50 for
Hmm.
the first time.
Yeah, three
Um,
towels.
312. But the six actually, because it's three up, three down.
Yes.
I actually would have said you were very good at holding people accountable.
Mm.
I actually found coming away from the meeting the last time, I was like, yeah, I'm sitting in the room with a 17-year-old, but the 17-year-old is throwing back at me, going, right, well, what's the next steps here? And
Mm.
I'm like, right here, get back into your little
Putting you
box
on your
there. And
toes.
but it was brilliant because I think it is actually a very strong personality trait you have, and maybe it comes from the sport, or
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
only
know, but
been that's actually only been learned. Not learned. It's
right,
just kind
okay,
of like normally I would have been taking in the advice, not saying, right, throwing it back at you, giving you back a question and saying, why are you doing that? Asking the
yeah,
question
yeah,
why, I suppose.
yeah. I know. Look, I think, I think what you've done, and when you listen to, and the more I've dealt with you over the last few months, and what you've done is exceptional, because there's other businesses out there that are like spending big money or scratching their heads. We're seeing them every day. Businesses
Mm,
going, how do I take this to the next level? And you've done
mm.
that, and it's all on your shoulders. But I suppose getting the plaudits and taking the plaudits, right? Okay, you being you with the drive and everything else. What's next? What's the next steps? Where do you want to go with this, or what are you thinking?
Yes, so we're looking at going into the uniform space. Definitely spotted a bit of the gap in the market there. Price uniforms and how schools are actually getting uniform. I saw it firsthand. I'm in school, and you saw it firsthand. You were buying the uniforms.
Yeah,
So that's what we're looking at now, sampling at the minute and trying to get schools on board. And then in about September, I'm going on to the swimwear brand called Tunta with one of my good friends, a few of them. So we've just booked flights to China to go visit a few suppliers.
man.
So that's our 6th year holiday sorted. And yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah, and that, like, I suppose that question there was more kind of around like, where do you see you said it there once, and actually you said it a good few times actually the last time we met, about taking things serious, and I'm shaking my
Mm,
head going, geez,
mm,
if this man is not taking stuff serious now and he's doing this well, what is it
mm,
going to be like when he does start taking it serious? But I suppose, yeah, the uniform thing is the school tracksuits, and as you said, I've definitely witnessed it firsthand, having two kids in a secondary
mm,
school, and yeah, you don't have much change, or you might have to throw a few pounds at €300 to get the
mm.
tracksuits and stuff. And we're working on something there that will be good quality and cost effective. So I'm really excited about that. But I suppose for OB taking it serious, what's the one thing that you would say is that you're lacking at the minute, and the 2026 is about honing in on that?
Um, Yeah, I always say I don't take it serious, but my not taking it serious is having a set in plan, saying, right, this is what I'm going to do. And like, I kind of feel like I'm still kind of half winging it and just going with the flow a bit. And like, my taking it serious is, right, this is what we're doing this month, this is what we're doing next month, this is what we're doing in the next 6 months, and this is what we're doing in the next 12 months. That's
Yeah,
my ideal seriousness. But the situation I'm in now, I can't do that.
yeah,
Because it could, like, in 6 months' time I'm moving to college, so I can't really plan what I'm going to be doing or when I'm going to be doing it. I don't know where I'm going to be living or all stuff like that. But just planting ideas, yeah, that's my idea of not taking it serious.
When it is, because it is, we talked about it the last day you were up,
Mm,
and it's about, you know, I think that thing of imposter syndrome definitely creeps in sometimes, and I think you're looking
mm,
at it going, well, OB Sports is just this little idea I had and whatever, but actually very quickly has grown into a brand, and I think that's the next steps definitely from us working together and what Run My Business
mm,
are going to help you with it is actually turn OB Sports into the idea, into the company, now into the brand and the business and driving it on.
mm.
And I think if you're not taking it serious at the minute and you're going to take it serious, I'm fairly excited to see where that can go. What's been the coolest thing you've been involved with over the last, say, number of years since you started OB Sports?
Um, Two, Drogheda United. We did a collab with How's Your Head on a mental health jumper, t-shirt, and windbreaker. We went up, me and Dad went up one of the days, and we did a content day. So that was really cool seeing the behind the scenes of a League of Ireland football club. And then at the minute we're doing, I would say OB is doing Jamie McIntyre merchandise, who's an upcoming Irish singer. So we're doing all his merchandise. He's touring Ireland, and yeah, he's going to be massive in the next 12 months. So that's the
And
plan.
and just and just touch on that, like, because that's something we would have discussed before, I suppose. Like the music industry, that's something you're passionate about. The
Mm,
sporting industry, that's something you're passionate about. And then the school uniforms or tracksuits, that's something you've seen
mm.
firsthand. So is that kind of where your business drive comes from, your ideas come from? Is just stuff that you're interested in, or
Yeah, well, my idea about the music industry is I can't sing, I can't play guitar, I can't play any instrument. I love Irish music, love all types of music. So I said to myself, how am I going to get into the music industry without being able to sing or play an instrument? So that was my end goal.
and yeah, we'll have to get you up to a car now for an old trad
Oh,
session or
Jesus.
something. Yeah, yeah, lock you up for the night. So 5 years down the line, obviously, what are you doing in college, Carl?
I'm planning on doing commerce in UCC.
Right, okay, very good.
So we're going
Did
to
I
hit,
hear law at one stage or something like that? Or am I
no,
imagining that? No, right, I'm
absolutely not.
imagining that. No. So if I was sitting with you here, or when I'm sitting with you here and run my business, I've worked with you and everything else like that. What's the future? Where do you see it in 5 years' time, or is it just let's just see where it goes? What way is your head thinking on that?
Probably in 5 years' time as a person, not even stepping away from OB, I'd love to be a part of all little projects. I remember you said to me last week, I'm a real entrepreneur because I want to like manage projects and not just own a shop and kind of just limit yourself there. So that's
Yeah.
kind of what I'd love to do. Like the sportswear was the hurling side of my life, and going into the swimwear brand now, which is kind of the swimming part of my life. And God only knows where it'd take me then.
Yeah, but that's brilliant because I did. It was a chat we had the last time, and
Mm,
I think that word entrepreneur or that description of business owners is something that's overused now, and
mm,
it's like someone that sets up a business. Well, they're a business owner. An entrepreneur is
mm,
someone that challenges themselves and puts themselves in situations where they're thinking of, right, where am I going next? What's the next piece of the puzzle? All of
mm,
that sort of stuff.
mm,
And for someone that's 17 years of age, it's unbelievable. I wish I would have had the net to try what you've tried
mm.
when I was your age. It took me till I was in my 30s to give it a go. And I suppose plugging my own business here, Carl, like you talked about advice and stuff like that, and I know we've started to work together a little bit closer. Like, give me just a bit of I suppose, an insight to you as a business owner, maybe 6 months ago before we started working together, and where the mess in the head was, and trying to get that advice and trying to look for the advice, and I suppose where you are at the moment while we started working together.
Um, so I would have went to a few advisors as such, but the big thing they didn't have running their own business advice. So they might have been a business advisor. That could have been their nature of their job, but they actually haven't run a business, which is probably the big thing. Like you need to actually be hands-on. This is how I run a business type of thing. I learn more from people like that than like anyone. Like I could have a chat with a fella who runs, I don't know, a plumbing company, but he could be doing his income return, and that's what I need to do. So I'll ask him, right, how did you do that? What do I need to do to that? And that's kind of how I found the best way to ask for advice. Like you could go to all these people, and they could be this big fancy name, and they might just tell you something that Google will tell you, or something like that. Kind of just having the tricks of the trade, and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, look at I'm excited to see where you go. I know we're going to be working closely over the next few months. We've this little uniform tracksuit adventure that we're working on. And there's a couple of other things that we're working on in the background in regards to the corporate space. Well, I think you're an unbelievable young man. I get it's not too often I say I get inspiration from someone that's 17 years of age, but I definitely get inspiration from you. And I look forward to working with you. If people are looking for you, people are trying to get you, where do they get you? Where's the best place to find you?
So Instagram is OB Sportwear, TikTok is OB Sportwear, and our website is o'briensportwear.com. Made by Run My Business.
There you go. There's the plug. Yeah. It took you all podcast or all interviews for
Yeah,
you to say that, but there you go. No, Carl, thanks a million for jumping on. I know it's late in the evening and I know you're doing your mocks and the best of luck with your mocks for the rest of the week. And I'll catch up with you then when your
100%.
head's a bit clearer. All right,
Spot
good
on.
man.
Thanks very much, Dan.
Cheers.
Thanks.